An ag-tech billionaire tried to take an 80-year-old widow's farm for stealing his revolutionary irrigation valve. Until she walked into court with a cigar tin that had been sealed in beeswax since 1938. The valley outside Hammett, Idaho, had been brown for 3 straight summers. Not dead, just tired. The kind of tired that makes fence posts lean, makes cattle stand in the narrow shade of telephone poles, and makes grown men study the sky like it owes them money. Iris Vale stood ankle-deep in an irrigation ditch behind her alfalfa field. She was small, narrow-shouldered, and bent at the spine from a lifetime of lifting what other people called impossible. Her gray hair was pinned under a faded red scarf. Her hands were cracked so deeply the dust lived in them. In front of her sat an iron headgate, older than most houses in the county. It looked ugly. A rusted wheel, a box of patched steel. A copper valve assembly bolted beneath the frame with hand-filed screws. And a black rubber gasket cut from an old tractor tire. But when Iris put her palm on the lever and eased it down, water moved, not in a wild flood, not in a wasteful sheet across the road. It pulsed through the ditch in measured breaths, rising and falling as the pressure changed, feeding the alfalfa rows without a pump, without a sensor, without 1 inch of buried wire. Just gravity, slope, copper, and a piece of farm knowledge nobody in a boardroom had ever earned. A black electric SUV appeared on the gravel lane, throwing pale dust behind it. It stopped beside her fence with the clean silence of money. Conrad Lyle stepped out first. He was the founder of Vantis Water Systems, the man business magazines called the prophet of drought agriculture. His company had just gone public on a valve system that promised to save the American West. He wore a navy suit, mirrored sunglasses, and shoes too polished for a county road. Behind him came 2 lawyers and a young assistant carrying a waterproof case. Conrad did not look at Iris. He looked at the headgate. His smile vanished. He knew that rhythm. One of the lawyers opened the case on the hood of the SUV and pulled out a bound legal packet as thick as a feed catalog. The assistant set a tablet on the fence rail. A bright blue model spun on the screen. The model showed Conrad Lyle's patented valve. Then the lawyer pointed at Iris's ditch. Same pulse chamber, same copper bypass, same pressure release, same self-cleaning sand screen. Conrad took off his sunglasses. Iris Vale, he said, as if reading her name from something unpleasant, you are operating stolen technology. She wiped her wet hands on her denim apron. He told her Vantis owned the design. He told her the valve on her land was an illegal copy of their Corgate system. He told her commercial damages had already been calculated at $12.8 million. Then he gave her the part he had come to enjoy. Vantis would settle. All Iris had to do was dismantle the headgate, surrender the farm deed, and sign a public statement admitting the theft. 7 days. No trial. No embarrassment. Just a clean transfer of land before the sheriff arrived. Iris looked at the blue model on the tablet, then she looked at the water moving through her ditch. The alfalfa leaves trembled green in a valley that had gone mostly yellow. Mr. Lyle, she said, that gate has been feeding this field since before your father was born. Conrad smiled the way powerful men smile when they hear a poor person tell the truth without paperwork. Then it should be easy to prove. Iris picked up a short-handled shovel and knocked dried mud from its edge. The lane's narrow, she said. Back out slow, that was all. No begging. No panic. No shouting into the dust. Conrad stood there a second longer than he needed to, trying to find fear in her face. He found nothing. By sunset, the legal packet sat unopened on Iris's kitchen table beneath a chipped blue coffee mug. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator hum and the old wall clock above the sink. Iris did not call her nephew. She did not call the bank. She did not ask a neighbor if he knew a lawyer cheap enough to lose. She washed the ditch mud from her forearms, made black coffee, and waited until the light left the windows. Then she walked to the pantry. Behind the flour bin, under 3 warped floorboards, there was a canvas sack tied with baling twine. Her husband had never touched it. Her sons had never asked about it. Her grandfather had put it there the year before he died and told her one sentence. When the watermen come dressed like judges, open this. Iris cut the twine with a paring knife. Inside the sack was a flat green cigar tin. The label had peeled away decades ago. The lid was sealed around the edge with yellowed beeswax. Across the top, in ink that had faded almost brown, someone had written, R. Vale. Field Notes, 1938. Iris sat down slowly. For the first time all day, her hand trembled. Not from fear, from memory. The county courthouse filled before 9 the next morning. News had moved fast across the Snake River plain. Farmers came in work boots. Ditch riders came in sun-bleached hats. Bankers came because land was about to change hands. Reporters came because Vantis water systems had become a billion-dollar miracle story. And miracle stories do not like being questioned by old women. Conrad Lyle arrived with 6 attorneys. They brought rolling cases, silver laptops, 2 technical consultants, and a projection screen large enough to cover half the courtroom wall. Iris arrived alone. She wore the same red scarf. Her boots were clean, but not new. In both hands, she carried the green cigar tin. The Vantis lead attorney stood first. For nearly an hour, he turned the courtroom into a lecture hall. He spoke about innovation. He spoke about venture capital. He spoke about proprietary engineering and the urgent need to protect private technology from world counterfeiters. On the screen, the blue Vantis corrugate model rotated beautifully. The attorney pointed his laser at the mechanism. The pulse wheel turned at a 5-to-1 ratio. The pressure chamber opened at 175 pounds per square inch. The sand screen flushed itself every 9th cycle. The bypass channel prevented water hammer during sudden drop. He made it sound impossible that anyone without a corporate lab could have built such a thing. Then he turned toward Iris. "This is not folk wisdom," he said. "This is theft dressed in rust." The judge raised his hand. The room went still. Iris stood. She had no projector. No consultant. No legal pad full of objections. Only the tin. The judge asked her whether the valve on her land matched the Vantis design. Iris looked up at the glowing blue machine on the wall. She nodded. A sharp breath moved through the Vantis table. Conrad leaned back, almost smiling. "Yes, Your Honor," Iris said. "It matches." The attorney stepped forward, too fast. "Then we move for immediate injunctive relief and property attachment." Iris turned toward him. "I said it matches," she said. "I did not say it was yours." She set the cigar tin on the witness table. The bailiff carried it to the bench. The judge examined the old wax seal. "What is this?" "My grandfather's field file." The Vantis attorney laughed once under his breath. It was a small sound. "A mistake." The judge looked at him until the laugh died. Iris took a folded handkerchief from her pocket and pressed it around the tin's lid. The wax cracked in 3 places. She lifted the cover. Inside were 2 oilskin envelopes, a coil of blackened copper wire, 3 brass screws, and a stack of yellow drafting sheets folded flat. The oldest sheet had gone dark at the edges. The ink was still clean. At the top, written in block letters by a hand that had learned precision before electricity reached half the valley, were the words, "Snake River Irrigation Trial Gate. Robert Vale, September 3, 1938. The judge leaned closer. The courtroom leaned with him. Iris unfolded the drawing one careful panel at a time. There it was, the same pulse wheel, the same copper bypass. The same self-flushing screen, the same chamber Conrad Lyle had sold to investors as a breakthrough for a drying century. Only this drawing had been made when gasoline tractors were still a luxury, and most farm wives kept accounts by kerosene lamp. The judge asked the clerk to dim the projector. The blue corporate model faded. The old paper remained. That was when the Vantis engineer at the far end of the table stopped typing. He was the first one to understand. The attorney tried to recover. He said old sketches were not proof of lawful ownership. He said family stories were not engineering records. He said a woman could bring anything into a courtroom and call it history. Iris reached back into the tin. She removed the second envelope. This one held a county irrigation ledger, brittle and brown, stamped by the Bureau of Reclamation Field Office. The judge read it aloud. Public demonstration. Vale Pulse Gate. Hammett Lateral Number 4. October 12, 1938. Attending engineers, 23. Water savings observed 31% over open flow. Conrad's smile disappeared. The judge kept reading. Prototype retained by Vale family. Duplicate plans filed with District Archive. For the first time that morning, Conrad Lyle looked directly at Iris. She was not looking back. She was watching the judge's hands on the paper. The Vantis lawyer asked for a recess. The judge denied it. Then the court clerk, who had been searching the State Archive database, raised her hand. The judge looked at her monitor. A new silence entered the room. Not empty silence. Heavy silence. The kind that arrives right before a roof gives way. The archive showed that the Vale irrigation file had been checked out in 1976, during a drought study funded by the state university. One man requested the duplicate plans. He kept them for 11 days. He signed a physical copy receipt. The name on that receipt was Everett Lyle, Conrad's grandfather. The judge removed his glasses. Mr. Lyle, he said, does your company's patent application disclose the 1938 Vale field trial? Conrad did not answer. His lead attorney whispered to him. Conrad's jaw tightened. The judge asked again. This time, the courtroom heard the answer before he gave it. No, the application did not disclose it. The billion-dollar drought miracle had not been born in a clean glass lab. It had been lifted from a farm archive, polished until the fingerprints disappeared, and sold back to the very people who had kept it alive in the dirt. Iris finally looked at Conrad, not angrily. That would have made it easier for him. She looked at him the way a woman looks at a cracked bucket she has already decided not to mend. My grandfather built that gate because the ditch was stealing half the water before it reached the last field, she said. Your family found his drawings, mine kept the machine working. Conrad gripped his pen so hard his knuckles turned white. The judge was not finished. He ordered the Vantis patent claim suspended pending formal invalidation review. He barred the company from enforcing the patent against any farmer, ditch company, or irrigation district using pre-existing gravity pulse systems. He referred the application record to federal investigators for possible fraud on the patent office. Then he granted Iris's emergency counterclaim. Vantis had used the Vale plans to raise capital, license equipment, and threaten landowners while hiding known prior art. Until the audit was complete, licensing revenue from the Courgate system would be placed into court-controlled escrow. The number started at $84 million. Conrad Lyle flinched, not much, just enough for everyone to see it. His fountain pen slipped from his hand, hit the table, and rolled against the injunction packet his lawyers had prepared for Iris. A dark line of ink crawled across the top page. The same page where her farm name had already been typed into the property transfer form. Outside the courthouse, the reporters were waiting. Conrad moved through them with his head down and one hand raised against the cameras. No speech, no polished statement, no promise to lead agriculture into the future. The man who had arrived to take a widow's ditch gate left unable to protect his own name. Iris did not step in front of the microphones. She walked around the crowd, crossed the street, and climbed into a neighbor's old pickup. By late afternoon, she was back at the lateral. The sun sat low over the Snake River plain, turning the dry hills the color of old bone. Farmers had gathered along her fence, not cheering, not making speeches, just standing there, as water moved through the ditch in its steady, breathing rhythm. Iris knelt beside the headgate and tightened one of the hand-filed screws her grandfather had cut before the war. A young ditch rider asked her what she would do with the money if the audit held. Iris looked over the field. The alfalfa was green in strips where the water had reached. Beyond that, the land was still thirsty. First, she said, we fixed the lower gates. That winter, the court's first accounting confirmed what the Valley already understood. For 12 years, Vantis had sold a stolen idea, as if the future belonged only to men with patents, press releases, and glass offices. But the future had been sitting under a pantry floor in a green cigar tin. And the truth had been turning in an old iron headgate every summer, one pulse of water at a time. Iris Vale never moved off the farm. She did not rename the ditch. She did not replace the old gate with a shining monument. She let the machine keep doing what it had always done, measure pressure. Save water. Feed the last field. Because water does not care who owns the loudest company. It follows the cut of the ground, and sooner or later, so does the truth.